Howdy. We've all been getting some heavy rains in the Northeast, and one of the problems that we've been seeing is basement flooding. And a lot of time the flooding is coming in through flooded window wells. So the real solution is to fix the grading from your house. But in the interim, what you can do is you can install pumps straight into your window wells. In this video, I will show you how to make first a bucket filter, and then how to place your pump into the bucket filter, and then set everything up so that you have dry basements, even in light of these crazy rains we've been having. For this, I use a 5-gallon Lowe's bucket, as you can see. And I've drilled a whole bunch of holes in the bucket. Again, as you can see here. And what I'm doing is I'm using a spade 1/2 inch drill bit for most of the holes. With the one exception, I'm using a 3/8 of an inch brad point drill bit for the small holes on the inner circle here. Okay. Another trick, as you're drilling the holes, keep the lid on the bucket. Then you actually are going to use the lid later. And the reason I like to keep the lid on is because it will keep a lot of this plastic dust inside the actual bucket, and it's not going to, be a nuisance to your yard or your work area. I also like to just gather all the shavings as they come off the drill bit, and there's going to be a lot of those, so I like to put them in a bowl. You're also going to be using hole saws to cut out the holes for the hose and for the electrical cable. And I've been using a 1 1/4 inch hole saw for the wire, and 1 1/2 inch hole saw for the garden hose. One thing you'll notice is that these Lowe's buckets have ridges on the top. So if you're going to drill holes in the cover, then it's a better idea to flip the lid over as you drill those holes. And of course, I recommend putting a piece of wood under the lid as you're drilling the holes. So now I've got my 2 holes drilled. The smaller hole is going to be used for the power cable coming off the pump, and you want to get that a little bit closer to the center. As you see, I've got it on kind of within the inner circle. And then as far as possible, you want to have the larger cutout for the hose. And as you'll see, it's just enough to have the hose fit through this opening. And you might wonder, why do we need such a big cutout for the power cable? Well, that's because the plug is a bigger size, and you want to have enough clearance to be able to get the plug through. Okay. So again, drill the smaller hole closer to the middle, and drill the larger hole as far out as you can, without, of course, cutting into that locking rim on the outside of the utility bucket. So now that you've made a bunch of holes in your bucket and the lid of your bucket, the next thing I like to do is to glue a fiberglass screen on the outside of the bucket. And I just bought this roll, this $10 roll of a fiberglass screen from Lowe's. And for adhesive, I'm going to be using Loctite PL Max Premium, which is waterproof, and it's advertised as their strongest adhesive. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut out screen portions to cover the holes, and then I'm going to use PL Max from Loctite to actually glue the screen to the bucket. Okay, so for the top of the bucket, you can just trace and cut out a circular piece of the screen. And for the side, what I like to do is I like to cut out about a 6-inch strip of the screen that I'm going to attach with adhesive. Now, something to note about the side strip. I really don't recommend putting adhesive on the bucket and then just sticking the whole long strip onto the bucket, because it will bunch up and not stick properly. So instead, what I recommend is cutting this into, about 7-inch strips, and then gluing the 7-inch strips individually as you go around the bucket. Okay. All right, so now we're ready for the next step, which is applying the adhesive. So here you'll see I applied the adhesive using my Loctite PL Max. There's really no preferred way of doing this. And of course I'm using my black nitrile gloves as well. And for the next stage, I can simply just dab the screen on top of the bucket, and I will change my gloves after I'm done using this. So now we've glued the top screen, or rather, it's really the bottom screen on the bucket. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be perfect. I've basically dabbed the screen right on top of the adhesive, and it's gonna cure and glue completely and be a really strong bond by tomorrow. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the side. Now, if you're wondering, why didn't I glue the screen to the bottom? Well, the pump is gonna be sucking water in this, in this direction. So you don't want it to actually, suck the screen off for the adhesive. This way, if we leave the screen on the outside, it ensures that, it continues to stay on the outside of the bucket. Great, so now we've glued our filter to the bucket, and now we just wait. We wait for it to cure. It's going to take about 24 hours for the glue to cure fully. And then we'll be ready to use this improvised bucket filter for our window well sump pump. All right, and now is the final step. We're going to put our sump pump into the bucket filter that we made. And I'm using a Wayne EAUP 250 pump. The reason I like this pump is that it has an auto on-off switch. I don't have to come out and manually flip the pump on. It has a sensor which will automatically activate when the water is, I believe, half an inch or so. So that's really convenient. And again, you'll see I have my hose and my wire going through the holes of the bucket cover, and we're gonna close it shut. And what's nice now is I can just use the handle to put the whole contraption right into my window well. And here you see my final installation. I've got the bucket dug in slightly into the gravel of the window well. I've seen some people dig a hole in the window in the bed. I didn't need to do that. I just moved the gravel around, and that's actually been enough for the pump to collect enough water to pump out without the water getting into the window. And you'll see I've got my extension cord running to one side where I have an external outlet, and I've got the hose. Running 25 feet out, as far away from the house as possible, away from the property line.